Yes, we now are in a very elaborate shop that is called Maker Works, which goes, of course, with maker spaces and making things and those words, but this is called Maker Works. And this is a place where many different kinds of people can come and make use of tools and, for example, pick up books like Machine Shop, Trade Secrets, and find out about how to do different fairly complicated things in fairly elaborate machines, fairly advanced things, all of it towards creating products that in different ways can be used by people, but it can also be used to make money, but can also be put to use so that one doesn't have to buy them. So this is a space available for that. And the intention of this space is really very, very close to the ideas of new work. So this is a space where new work is being done and happens on the outskirts of Ann Arbor. We're still in this place called Maker Works, and they have a whole gallery of really impressive machines. And this is a laser machine. It's an Epilogue, it's a Mini, it's an Epilogue A. There are many things that one can engrave with that. There's a sign which says Maker Works, no materials with chloride should be cut or engraved on this laser. So one has to be careful about not using the wrong materials. But really the main point is that there are many places similar to this one. Some of them are called maker spaces, and these are places that directly connect with new work because the machines are there for people to use them, and for people to learn, and for people to develop skills, so that by using the machines that are made available for them in this place, they can increase their skills and end up doing something very important in a new kind of job. So that should give an idea of what's possible now and what is actually happening in Detroit. This happens to be in Ann Arbor. Yes, I'm still in this place called Maker Works, and in some ways I'm especially happy to show you this kind of machine. One way of calling that is it's an industrial sewing machine. But the idea of people making their own clothes, and no longer buying clothes, but making clothes, is one of the dimensions of new work that we're trying to develop. And it makes all the difference in the world to have something like this machine, and machines like this can be made available to people. And with machines like this, even if you don't have much experience, with some help and some mentoring, you can make something very impressive and very beautiful with this kind of machine. And so the idea of making your own clothes with machines that make that very much easier than if you just do it from nothing, so to say. That's very much one of the ideas that should come across from seeing these pictures. I'd like to add that, for example, this kind of machine can, of course, be used wonderfully for Halloween costumes. You know, one can make Halloween costumes that are amazing with this kind of machine. So use it for that sort of purpose. Well, this is a small, miniature example, micro example, of one of the most famous things that's around right now. I mean, the big step right now is from the old kinds of machines towards what are called fabricators. This actually is a small, handy fabricator. And with this fabricator, now the thing that many of you may have already run across is that with a fabricator you can do what people call 3D printing. That is, you can print in 3 dimensions, which means you can print something that is a 3-dimensional object. As you can see from this is bound to be a small object, but it could be a piece of jewelry, or it could be something of something that you wear on your clothes, an accessory, many things that you don't need to buy, but that instead of buying, you could make with this kind of small fabricator. This you can. One of the main reasons for looking at this right now is that you shouldn't have the idea that fabricators are incredibly expensive. This machine you could probably afford, or it can be in some community center, and you could make things there for your children or for whoever. And again, the idea is you don't need to buy it, you can make it. We're looking at a fabricator, and this is a very small sample of one, but important is that everything right now that is developing and that is exciting and breathtaking and new hinges on fabricators. So the idea of micronization, that is, of making things smaller, of being able in a small space to manufacture even very demanding products. We manufactured an electric motorcycle in a very small space. The idea of small room manufacturing is something that is only possible because there are now fabricators. And with fabricators we could have things that manufacture things in virtually any house, anywhere, in any village, in any farmhouse. It can turn now into a factory where you can make things, so you become independent of the big factory, independent of the very expensive capital that goes with that. And in some ways, this machine is the secret of it. There are many machines like this, many are bigger, many are more expensive, but the basic principle is a fabricator that out of material prints 3-dimensional. And that's what a fabricator does. It makes 3-dimensional things in a small space.
And honestly, it was the only way I was going to make a living was working in a restaurant. And so
you have an art degree in sculptures.
Yep,
from where? From what?
From Eastern Michigan University.
Okay.
It's actually awesome. It changed my life.
Yes.
Like being able to work with my hands changed my life. And getting out of school and not having access to that space anymore was like stepping into a vacuum and being like, I don't know what's happening.
Yes.
And then discovering this place, I was able to pick up side jobs. I started building furniture out of here, which let me be able to quit my job working in the bar and make stuff for a living, which was awesome.
And feel good about it.
And feel good about it. And so actually I ended up blacksmithing for a while, and then I started working here just behind the front desk a couple days, and eventually they're like, hey, would you like to work here all the time? And I'd love to. I love helping people make stuff. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen our business plan, but our motto is the future is yours to make.
Mm-hmm.
And one of our goals is to solve world problems, and we're just a small maker space.
By the way, that's where we really connect. Solve world problems is what we do.
And it's also that
And enjoying your work.
exactly
Doing something that you actually love doing versus doing something because you have to make a living.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's so funny the amount of people that do what they have to do to get by. We have to. I mean, that's what the world is. But when you find that thing that you love, and we're able to do it either in a common shared space, at home, whatever, it's empowering.
Yes.
And what's cool is this community of makers is they're about empowering themselves and each other. The networking that happens helps us become sustainable, helps us help each other, and then hopefully help the world.
It's called MakerWorks, which is a word I like very much. And this should be connected with there's a now happening this weekend a global conference where people really are coming from every country all over the place to Detroit and are wanting to look at the sorts of new machines with which people can make new kinds of products, especially if they don't have a job. So this is very relevant to Detroit. And maybe you can give us some idea of what even just this little machine can possibly do.
Yep. So this is the MakerBot Replicator 2X. Basically, it's a 3D printer that has dual extrusion, so it has 2 extruders in there. What's really cool is it's a good machine for rapid prototyping. We're able to take a 3D file that we've created and actually make a physical object. As far as like education, getting like kids ready to go into fabrication, into design, building something on the computer and actually seeing it made is awesome. This is a form of additive fabrication. While if we went back into the metal shop, we could do subtractive on the mills.
Right.
What's cool is by doing the 3D file, they're able to like set themselves up for success in the sense that they're able to see what their computer skills will do. They're going to learn simple G code, which is the language of the machine, telling it where to go or where to send the tool.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second?
Please do.
No, because what you just now said, that's really important. That's sort of the big division. That's the one side, the other side. There's additive manufacturing and there's subtractive manufacturing. And so far, most of the world has been subtractive manufacturing, taking a big chunk of metal and drilling away till you have what you want. This is additive, where you add things, which is much more economical, much more ecological, much more saving in all kinds of ways.
It is, and it's a really cool thing. We use ABS plastic specifically. We like ABS plastic because it can actually be reused and recycled really effectively. So if we have a print that doesn't work, there's a couple different ways to chop it back down, melt it down, and re-extrude it to go ahead and reprint it, so we can reuse our material quite a few times, which is cool.
Yeah. No, that.
It's a really cool tool because to me this is the future of technology. We're living in Star Trek times. Like we have our tricorders in our phones. We're able to like have something print from nothing. Have you guys seen the new cement 3D printer?
Yes.
They just 3D printed that castle. That is super cool. So they're doing this on every scale. It's going to get to the point that like when ink printers first came out, they were expensive and everybody's like, there's no way I'm going to have them. But everyone has them in their house now. So if I have a part that breaks in my like washing machine, right now I have to call and order that part. And what's really cool about this is soon I won't have to order the part. That means the company won't have to store it, they won't have to pack it, they won't have to ship it. What they'll do is send me the file. I'll print it at my house, or I'll go to a local store that has printers and print it for me.
Local maker works.
Yes, like a local maker space. What's cool is like I could never afford this machine, ever. But having membership to a place like this gives me access to the technology, the software where I can actually design it and create something which helps me in the end.
Can I just underscore something you said already? Namely, part of what makes this thing so cool and terrific is that you can repair things with it. Just about anything. You know, whether it's a TV set or a washing machine or a refrigerator, something breaks. You can make the spare part with this machine, make your own spare part, and make it much more effectively than having to wait and so forth and so on.
Sometimes it's a journey getting to that point, but you can. And it's really cool because once you learn how to do it, we're no longer like replacing it. We're going to be fixing it, you know? A lot of things that are made now basically get thrown away and then we're going to replace it. This, we're fixing it. We have a bunch of people who like parts aren't being made anymore because they want you to buy a new one. But hey, my radio has worked for years and I love that radio. I can come in and print the new housing that broke. I can go into the soldering station and fix whatever solders were broke. There's a lot of cool things that like this is a stepping stone into.
Well, thank you so much.
You're
It's
welcome.
terrific.
This'll-
Now, it is a fact at this point that the big companies deliberately make things so that it is difficult to repair them, so that you can't get at what needs to be replaced. And that is where you come in. You make it possible for people to repair things that are designed not to be repaired.
Yep. So this machine's a good example of this. We have had people come in and like they will measure their parts and remake their parts either through 3D printer. They'll use the vacuum form to get the shapes that they need to actually pull new shapes. We have a thing every third Friday called Fix It Friday, where we invite the public in to basically bring in whatever they have broken and we're going to try and fix it. It's not a guarantee, but we try. And we actually have a pretty good success rate. But it's true. It's funny that a lot of the time when we're opening up these things, gadgets, whatever, they're not made to be fixed. And when we try and find the part, that part doesn't exist. It's like they want us to throw it away and buy a new one.
Yeah, sure.
As far as sustainability, I don't know if that's like a realistic thing. A good wood shop overall. The best tool in here is the dust collection system. It's sucking out all the dust and stuff that we keep breathing in. You can see it gets pretty dusty, but what's in here is the other one. The system built in the whole shop. So that's a nice machine. So we're on a total wood shop. And then the second tool is the shop box. This is a CNC router. Basically, you can do X, Y, and Z. You can do relief carving. You can do all kinds of textures. This machine basically turns on this stuff. For you in person. Yeah. Use this quite a bit. Because I never did CNC tooling. This is a pretty straight way to go into the CNC tooling.
And that's a controlling.
Yep. So it's computer numerical control. So we're basically just making. Then we have our wood shaping tools. So honestly, just having like access to a joiner, planer, and thickness sander, I can buy rough sawn wood. It saves me hundreds of dollars just because I can finish it myself. Do all kinds of stuff. This one's the nice chop saw with a long table. The saw stop table saw. You guys seen this? It's awesome.
It's an awesome.
Dude, it's sweet. So it works. We've saved one person's finger.
Really?
Yeah.
On this machine.
On this machine. So what happens?
What is it called?
It's a saw stop table saw.
Saw stop.
So if it touches anything basically conductive like your flesh, it fires the aluminum cartridge into the blade, stopping it instantly. Spring loaded. Now we've fired off 6 of these, but we've saved one person's finger. Like he would have lost his thumb. And to us, it's a cost that we absorb.
Awesome.
The metal shop's awesome because basically as we go back, it gets hotter and heavier. We have sheet metal stuff up front, our machine precision tooling lathes, our mills, which are both pretty cool. The gentlemen that you see working are doing prototyping or
Yeah.
yeah. How's it going?
Well, we're going to,
Going for it?
yep, sweet. I'm gonna get this new windmill logo.
This is Phil. He's with Pico Spray. I don't know if you want to say what you're about, but yeah, be really. So this is cool. This is a Scotchman. It's a 45-ton ironworker. You can punch through about a 1/2 inch of steel, which is pretty crazy. It also has flat stock, round stock, and angle iron, so you can shear those, which is pretty sweet. We have our grinders. Mike, are you gonna cut?
Nope.
Cool. Our plasma cutter. So, the plasma sort here was made on our plasma cutter here, which basically plasma cutter basically can cut through a 1/2 inch of steel as well. Sorry, man. Which is pretty cool. It can basically do CNC, so any like drawing that we're gonna do, it can do it. And then we have our welders, so MIG, TIG, and spot welding. What's cool about the checkout classes, so all these tools, if they're delicate or dangerous, require a checkout class. It's going to make sure that you're safe, the tool's safe, and everybody else is safe. The welders, for example, you could come in, you're going to take the class, we're going to make sure you're not going to burn yourself or electrocute yourself, but you're not going to be an expert welder.
Yeah. So this is one of 16 brass horns which we made custom made for this project. These we didn't make in this facility. These were made at 2 other facilities in the area. But 16 of these go over the tweeters in some of the speakers on stage. And despite being showy, they are actually pretty functional and make quite a big difference acoustically. So how I came to Ann Arbor?
Yeah, but how you ended up here
So-
making what you're making.
My dad grew up in Detroit, and he influenced me pretty heavily. He ran a fabrication and engineering company, and I was there all the time growing up. And I came here to get my PhD in environmental engineering at the U of M, and for a number of reasons decided it wasn't really my cup of tea. And so I got my master's degree and then continued to work for the university as a lab technician for a couple of years, and then quit and started my own business here in 2011. So we've been open for 3 years.
And since then, what have you accomplished? What do you think was your decision the correct decision?
Oh, without question. I mean, it was, for a while I was working almost full-time at the university and running my shop. In fact, I was still working for the university in March of this year. So it's pretty recent that I've been just full-time on my own project, and it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. I mean, people at the university were great, but it wasn't what I was meant to be doing.
And then you have
Well, I
other,
should tell you, that you've used that sentence several times, and that really connects with me.
What's that?
Doing what you want to do.
Yeah.
I don't know how, we'll talk about that some more, but things that I was offered that were not what I really wanted to do. Among other, I had a fancy professorship at Princeton, I had a fancy professorship at Stanford. I said to both of them, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to know what something is about until you do it, and then by then.
No, it's got to be what you want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm having a really good time, and it's working out financially. The business is growing faster than I can keep up with, and I have no complaints there other than really long hours.
making a brand new organ that never been made before.
Yes, and I'm not, of course, doing the whole thing. I mean, this is a $600,000 project.
I see.
I'm designing and producing the audio end of it. So 2 different companies are manufacturing the computers and the keyboard and the console and all that, and then that outputs to an audio system which I'm fabricating. So that you kind of just missed we just finished it Saturday and expedited it to Boston, and then it debuts next week in New York City to Berlin. And I went to the Lincoln Center debut and they filled the stage. I mean, and it's cool
You
because
went there, you listened to it?
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Yep, and so those brass horns, if you saw that brass cone, those are also, I fabricated those for some of the speakers get those horns. So I can send you some photos.
Can I interject just real quick? I actually do spend a lot of time in Berlin.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, both of my parents were from Berlin,
Okay.
and I spend a lot of time there, do a lot of work there. But what may be really relevant to whatever future conversations we have, and this could be the beginning of our first conversation, there may be others. the company we are developing, which exists, and at this point is a global company. You know, it has places in India, in Russia, you name it. And in all of those places, we work towards visibility. That's the crucial thing. So we may have some things to work on together.
Okay.
The different things out of wood and metal, and like you said, sometimes plastic for signage and things, and sometimes, you know, other materials as well. But I started off working for myself it's 3 years ago about.
I think that exporting something overseas will take a big company, and here's a
Yeah.
a one-man
Yeah.
company, and with some help, you're able to export things.
Yeah, handmade things, believe it or
Handmade,
not.
yeah.
So it's bizarre to me too. So
Well, it's good for people to know that you still
That
can
something
Yeah.
like that works.
yeah,
you
that
can
there's
do that.
it still happens. You know, it's probably very rare, I think, but
I think so.
I feel very lucky being able to you know, do that kind of work.